Hello, everyone, and welcome to this presentation on the intersection of spirituality and the ethic of care in music education. My name is Olivia Dowd, and I am so grateful that you could join us today in this virtual format. Before I go any further, if you have not yet registered for the July 27th ISME panel discussion that will be discussing spirituality in music and music education, please make sure you register and sign up so that you can be part of that. So just a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Olivia Dowd. I graduated from Penn State University with a bachelor's in music education in 2018. I am currently an elementary music teacher. I teach K to 6 general music and 5 and 6 chorus in Fairfax County, Virginia. Before we go any further, I do want to pause here and say this is new. This is a little new and awkward for all of us to be doing it virtually, but this is my first ISME anything, and it's important that we create a space where we can not only connect, but where we can feel brave and where we can feel safe. And that is what I hope that this presentation can be. I know it's virtual, but it's still important that we hold those tenets. So why the ethic of care in music education and its intersection with spirituality? Part of what led me to believe in the importance of this work is the absence of it, despite there being research in medicine on the ethic of care and in general education about the ethic of care. I think most musicians and music teachers would agree that music education is very unique. It has its own unique skills and challenges and triumphs. But it's important that we understand what an ethic of care can look like in light of all of those. It is also, to me, it is the unshakable conviction that every life matters. And people that make a difference in the world hold that unshakable conviction that individuals are extremely important and that they get excited over one smile and they want to heal one wound and they want to change one mind, educate one mind, and feed one stomach. And that they're not determined to revolutionize the world all at once, that they are satisfied with small changes. And over time, those small changes add up to change cities and nations and even the world. So, the ethic of care. Let's talk about that. So, part of what got me interested in this research is a trip that I took to Vietnam in 2017. I went to Ho Chi Minh City and I was there working and creating music with and for the inhabitants of an orphanage. This orphanage housed children that were terminally ill, as well as those that were not. And I went there with two professors of music education. On the left, you'll see Dr. Vu, and in the middle, you will see Dr. Watts. Dr. Vu is from Boston University, and Dr. Watts is from Penn State University. So, the ethic of care. I see three equal pillars in this, not sequentially, not more important, but equal pillars. Vulnerability being the birthplace of authenticity, and empathy, sharing humanity, the light and the dark, and connection between the carer and the cared for that requires a degree of reciprocity. That is to say that both gain from the encounter and both give to the encounter. So the research, and this research is looking at care as the foundation, as a foundation of morality. So scooch that out of the way. So the ethic of care. Virginia Held expanded on some of the research that Nell Noddings did, and she was able to put it very succinctly into the ethic of care is a distinct moral perspective that arose out of feminist concerns, and it grew to challenge the core elements of most other moral theories. Traditionally, these theories emphasize abstract principles, general duties, individual rights, impartial judgments, and deliberative reasoning, whereas the ethic of care shifts the focus to the unique demands of specific situations and the virtues and feelings that are central to close personal, individual relationships: empathy, love, fidelity, sympathy. Which brings us to more authors and researchers. As I had mentioned in the previous slide, Dr. Nell Noddings, who many argue is the founder of the moral theory of the ethic of care. She asserts that a caring relation is ethically basic to humans, and it has also been argued that her theories of care are inherently religious. Dr. Brene Brown, who is known for her, most famous for her TED Talk, and she has also written 5 New York Times bestsellers. She is currently at the University of Texas. There is also Dr. Patricia Jennings, who is at the University of Virginia, and she is known for studying mindfulness in education, among other things. So vulnerability. And vulnerability, I am using the working definition from Brene Brown, and one of the things that she touches on is that trust is earned in the smallest of moments. It's not about a heroic deed or even highly visible actions, but through paying attention and listening to small gestures of care and connection. So, vulnerability, connection. Connection through mindfulness. Mindfulness is really our entry point into all three of these things. Music in a group setting can foster community. It fosters connection. And a necessary component of caring and ethical connection in music is the ability to be mindful. It involves setting intentions, it involves paying attention and creating a purposeful adjustment of attitude. It also involves valuing interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships. The ethic of care is a daily and lifelong practice, but it's challenging, as is teaching and as is being a musician. But mindfulness helps us maintain composure, compassion, and sensitivity to the needs of others while giving a path to build resiliency for our own well-being in an often demanding environment. So let's talk about empathy. So with empathy, we're talking about perspective taking someone else's perspective and recognizing it as their truth. Staying out of judgment, which Brene Brown makes a really good point, is very hard when most of us are so good at it. It involves recognizing the emotion in others and communicating that recognition of emotion. As I've been mentioning a little bit prior to now, that reciprocal nature of it, of I see what you are trying to do, and I'm letting you know that I see that. Empathy is recognizing the light and darkness in our shared humanity. We can commit to practicing loving kindness with ourselves and others in the face of suffering. It is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It is a relationship between equals. One cannot be truly caring or truly empathetic without being willing to put oneself out in vulnerability. We show others that what we have to offer is genuine and is worthy, and that our self-worth is not directly tied to the actions and products we put out into the world. Caring about, caring for, all of those, they're not even about choices or democracy. It's about an ethical use of power, especially in music education when there is an inherent power dynamic between teacher and student. Spirituality and storytelling. In the book, I go more into this with some vignettes. Storytelling is a core mechanism for teaching norms, for teaching values, and historically communities have relied heavily on stories and narratives to create and maintain cultures as a core mechanism for teaching norms. Therefore, stories are fundamental to religious traditions, as are many other cultural practices. In the New Testament, for example, there is a reason that Jesus does his teaching through parables. Again, I go into this a little more in the book, which is why I am giving this whole presentation in the first place for working with June Boyce Tillman. And while we cannot always create the direct encounter that N. Brown is talking about here, we can create stories that bring another being's experience alive for the listener. And it's done in a way that can foster empathy and appeals to the emotion and the commonality. So, in conclusion, humans seek connection. We hope to belong. When we are compassionate to others, we can connect with them. We can find our similarities of belonging. We can build awareness of the need for empathy and to grow to be more caring individuals. Through these three things, vulnerability, empathy, and connection, we create a reciprocal relationship between two people. Musicians and music educators alike can tie these components into their moral and spiritual practice and therefore into their teaching practice. We need to practice the values that we deem are important. There's not a need to be perfect, just engaged and committed to aligning values with actions. When we have the courage to be vulnerable, we become open to new ways to care that were previously unrecognizable. What works for me is not going to work for you and is not going to work for necessarily one of your students or another musician in your ensemble. So implications for future research that I am interested in exploring are a caring curriculum. I've made a framework for one, and when I say curriculum, I don't mean a set of standards to adhere to. This curriculum, it's a filter. You layer it on top of what you are already doing in your curriculum. It doesn't even necessarily have to be strictly musical. It could be a music education curriculum at the collegiate level. Another implication for research is teacher burnout. In the United States, there is a 50% retention rate for teachers in their first 5 years. And I wonder and have looked into and would like to continue to look into, as I've been mentioning, that reciprocal relationship. Teachers go into the field because they care. And if that loop breaks down, if there is not effective communication of, I care about you in a way that you can see and understand, I'm caring about you in the way you need and want to be, then it can't be communicated back to the carer. I see that and I understand what you are trying to do, that you are trying to care about me, and it breaks down. Additionally, I would like to look into the effect of shame in classroom settings, especially in a music education setting. Although the preferred form of caring is caring for, cared about can help establishing and maintaining and enhancing care. And the key central to care theory is this, that caring about, caring for, perhaps even a sense of justice, must be seen as instrumental in establishing the conditions under which caring for can flourish. Nel Nautilus. Thank you so much for coming virtually. If you have any inquiries or questions or would just like a copy of the PowerPoint, please feel free to email me. My email is dowd.olivia@gmail.com. And I have the utmost gratitude to June Boyce Tillman, who got me involved in this book, which is the whole reason that I am here. So thank you so much for being very patient with me. This is my first time doing anything like this in my second year of teaching. And I would not be here without Dr. Sarah Watts from Penn State, my thesis advisor and one of my greatest friends and advisors, and I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for answering all of my texts. And also to Susan, who I met with from ISME. She's also the director of On-Cue Educational Consulting. She was so helpful in helping me flesh out this topic into a PowerPoint for a couple years of research and a 60-page thesis and a book chapter into a 15-minute presentation. Thank you also to Dr. Vu for bringing me to Vietnam and sparking all of this. Thank you so much. I hope to see you at the discussion panel and enjoy the rest of the conference.